Hey guys, thanks for coming back. Hey, I'm finishing up real quick on the story that I had on the last one was about going to Kaua'i and my struggles with God, my struggles with opportunities. But when I was struggling, excuse me, I cried out to God, man. And there were so many days in the beginning because I had given up a ministry. I'd walked away from one of the biggest ministries in Southern California. At the time, we were super well known. We had 30, 40, 50 people every week that we were helping out. We were doing all this stuff and we had all this support. I was running Christian Surfers Orange County and we had all these different things, and all of a sudden God says, all right, boom, you're out of here, you're going to Kaua'i. And the way that came about it wasn't like my wife and I just said, hey, let's move to Hawaii. It was, we lived in San Clemente, man. It's one of the best places in the world to me. And we lived where we had always dreamt of living, but the problem was God called us. So what ended up happening was my ministry started. We finally got to the point where we were having big meetings, and we were in this house and we had this meeting. And in the middle of this meeting to plan this surf competition and stuff that we were putting on and an outreach. And what had happened was I did a bunch of surf video. And I took the surf video from different spots. It could be Sano, it could be uppers or lowers, but I'd go get in the water. My friend Dev lent me his camera, and we'd go out there and I'd do these videos with his water camera, and we just get some crazy shots. You know, I was just having fun with it at the time, and you know, we'd be out there doing our thing, and all of a sudden God was like, you're going to put this stuff together, you're going to use it as an outreach, because we're so vain, we all like to see ourselves doing stuff. So on the best surfing days, I'd be in the water filming the guys surfing, and what I'd do is I'd give them a card that just had my ministry on it and stuff, and that would basically, hang on one second, something super important. Hey, buddy. Okay, cool. We'll get it when we get here. Love you too. Bye. Sorry about that. Priorities, my wife and my kids. That was my son. So, bottom line is I would get into this ministry because, I mean, I was at the top of my game. Everything was going really well in my life. And I lived in San Clemente. I dreamt of living there. You know, I met Gordon Clark from Clark Foam. I mean, I just, everything in my life, all these pros I had around me, I was part of the industry, I was part of the culture. I was there. It was like my dream as a kid, and I was there. Now all of a sudden God goes, hey, I want you to leave your ministry. I actually gave back a check that a guy had came and said, God sent me here. How much money do you need? I'm supposed to give you whatever you need. And later on, this guy, which he didn't like the idea, is he offered to actually financially support me so I could not go to Hawaii and do ministry the whole time, because he loved what we were doing. But what would happen is he would end up taking over the ministry. So it was a challenge to him and a challenge to me, but he would end up taking over the ministry, and it would become something that God would use the situation to restructure everything in a way. So right when I thought I was at the peak of what I was going to do, after 10 years of praying and organizing and putting it together, it finally started, and God goes, now you're going to Kaua'i. And I was like, nah, man. And I bucked with God for a month, and one thing after another, you know, I called a guy to just do my due diligence, a guy that was part of my ministry that had moved to the islands, and I didn't know where he moved. But so I called my old church, and the receptionist at the church, the second she answers the phone, I go, hi, Laura, this is Joe. And she just starts bawling. And I'm like, Laura, are you okay? Your husband okay? What's going on? What's happening? And she goes, Joe, I just got off the phone with Emily, which was the person I was calling to get her husband's number. She had a dream last night. And in her dream, she said that you and your wife are coming to Kaua'i. And I was just like, no. no, God, I'm not, and I'm arguing with God on this. And so we got the number. It was a long story that's not important right now. But I would call them, we would go over to the islands, and in the process, I would have this dream. Before I ever got there, my wife had a dream about a house and the fence and all this stuff. Well, I drew a picture of that house, and I draw all the time, and I just sketched out a house. I do it, it's normal. I have a file, or I used to. And she called me crying. She goes, "Where'd you get the house?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" She goes, "You know the dream I told you I needed to talk to you about?" I go, "Yeah." And she goes, "You drew the house in my dream. The stepping stones, the gazebo, where the surfboards, it's the house in my dream." So I'm like, "No, God, I'm not doing this. I'm not giving up my life again to go to an island in the middle of the Pacific. It's not going to happen." And what would end up happening is I go down to surf every day, and all of a sudden, my pastor, he's not suiting up. We surfed every day for a year. I taught him how to surf, and it was kind of our thing. And all of a sudden, he doesn't want to show up, doesn't want to surf. And I'm like, "What's up?" And he's like, "You're not feeling good?" He goes, "No, I'm not going to surf." I go, "Why?" And he's like, I'm not going to surf. He goes, "Well, let me rephrase that. I'm not going to surf with you." And I'm like, "Did I hurt your feelings? Did I offend you? What'd I do?" He goes, "No." He goes, "Joe, you're the most faithful person I've ever met in my life. That's why I love you. That's why I hang out with you." He goes, "You've never said no to God." And he goes, "And now we're in a situation right now where you're literally telling God no." And he goes, "And I don't want to be in the water when God sends a fish to gobble you up and spit you out in Kaua'i." And he was so sure that I was called to be there that it was going to come down to a Jonah situation for me if I didn't listen, and it was breaking his heart. So in the next video, I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit more about that and explain where I was and what it took to get me to the islands. It wasn't just a, "Hey, my wife and I want to go live in Kaua'i" thing. It was a battle. And I hope you guys have a great day. I hope this blesses you. And make sure you watch the next one to finish this thing up. Sorry, this one's so short, but I got stuff I got to get off and do. And I just wanted to start off with that. And you guys have a great day. God bless you. If you need something, write me. I'll try to comment back and get back in contact with you. Subscribe, like, tell your friends about this thing, show it off, get whoever you want to watch it, and we'll talk to you later.